Hey everyone, work was pretty busy today. When I took a break for lunch, I ran 4.5 miles for my cardio day. I didn't do legs like heavy squatting like I normally do today because I was running the 4.5 miles. Um, but besides that, I wish I could run outside. It was treadmill, but I mean, it's kind of uncomfortable for me when it's below like 65 degrees, and right now it's around freezing. And today on the way home from work, it was just pouring, just so bad. I didn't even want to get out of my car when I got home. But today I wanted to talk about basically how I lost all of my weight. I was 168 pounds, and I basically lost. Wait, what am I talking about? I was 208 pounds, and now I'm around 160. And I want to talk about how I lost basically 50 pounds. Um, I did touch on it before about how the cardio every day, and then I started lifting once I started seeing some results. But the cardio is very important. But another part of losing weight and keeping it off is diet. I mean, obviously, if you're eating all garbage, your body's not going to have the proper nutrients in order to keep you running at tip-top shape. Um, Nowadays, there's just so many things that they put in food, and it's basically our request for these additives. We want colorful food, so they put artificial food coloring in our food to make it colorful and pretty. I mean, I've heard that they put coloring in meat to make it look red for longer, like raw meat. I hope that's not true, but you can't really believe everything you hear on the internet anyway. But just think about that. That's crazy. Injecting oranges with orange food coloring. I just hope that's garbage. But anyway, if you read food labels, you can see food coloring, and you can look up any. There's so many sources out there that have done studies on the effects of food coloring on the body. Different ones have different effects, ranging from all types of things like basically lowering your IQ or causing difficulty having children. Large range of things. People say that Mountain Dew lowers your sperm count, and that's mainly because of the yellow 5 or yellow 6, I believe, that they use in there. But anyway, food coloring is just one thing. Another thing that we request is extremely long shelf life. So what people have done, or what food scientists have done, is taken oils that are generally healthy. I mean, it is fat, and people have this negative stigma with fat, but fat's really not the problem. It's concentrated carbohydrates, but I'll get into that later. They take this healthy fat and they hydrogenate it. By adding extra hydrogen atoms to the long lipid chains, they make it more stable, basically turning it more towards plastic. So there's an extremely long shelf life because tiny living organisms don't want to eat that, so it's not going to spoil. You need like mold or bacteria to start consuming it and basically producing waste for your food to spoil like that, and you can just have an incredibly long shelf life if you make it unobtainable to little organisms that are going to spoil your food. It's common sense. Another, hydrogenated oil and hydrogenated fat, those are also called trans fats, and we have limited the amount of trans fats. So any serving of any food that we have, you can have hydrogenated oil in it, but it has to be less than a certain amount such that the serving size has 0 grams trans fats. But we still use hydrogenated oil. And they say, okay, everything in moderation. But I mean, if you're having a little bit of this chemical that could possibly, I mean, it's not for human consumption. It's basically plastic. It's not for animal consumption or organism consumption because we use it specifically as a preservative and to increase shelf life. Then you probably shouldn't be eating it at all. I mean, but then again, if you have too much oxygen, something that we need to live, you die again. But you do need some oxygen. But that's different than this hydrogenated oil and all these additives that they're adding to our food, because we've evolved to have this amount of oxygen. We've been here many, many years, obviously, not 6,000, but many, many, many years past that, and we've become accustomed to our 21% oxygen ratio. But these new additives are very recent. We're adding them to our food, and we haven't become accustomed to them, so obviously they cause problems. Another one's high fructose corn syrup. They'll try to make you believe that it's just corn syrup that has higher levels of fructose as opposed to glucose, but really the process that it goes through with the enzymes, I believe they get them from some type of animal stomach. But anyway, the process that it goes through is basically taking regular corn syrup and just converting it into this thing that doesn't metabolize correctly in our bodies. The ratio's off. There's probably something else in there, but I mean, you don't need to hear from me that high fructose corn syrup is bad. But it's literally in everything, so you should read your labels. I'll probably talk about this more in depth in other videos. But basically, all these different additives, I'll just name one more, sodium benzoate. That is basically, I guess you could call it a salt, because when you dissolve it, I mean, the sodium ion breaks off, and then you have the benzoate ion. That enters the cell of the bacteria in question, or the mold, and it basically shuts off the power cell, the power source of the cell, the mitochondria, where it converts ATP into energy that the cell can use to divide and function and heal itself and clean. It basically shuts off that power source so that small organisms can't really survive. But guess what? Once the sodium benzoate hits your body, it's doing the same exact thing to some of your cells. That's why we have limits on these, because we know they're bad. You don't need to eat food with that. If you get fresh food, there's not that stuff in there. But we ask for this. We want things to last a long time, because we don't want to be traveling to the grocery store every week or every day. Some people do that. Most people, well, not most people probably, I'm not really sure, but I do know some people that shop monthly. And it's like, okay, you're eating the same food that you bought this entire month? I don't know. I mean, I don't mind going to the grocery store once a week. And, I mean, it's fine. I try not to eat out. I make my own food. That's basically adds to why cooking and baking are part of my interests, because it became a necessity in order to keep myself as natural as possible, which is a very important key to losing weight and keeping it off. You basically want to give your body the conditions in which it can work at its most efficient. Humans are great at adapting, but it's not necessary. You don't need aspartame. You don't need high fructose corn syrup. You don't need sucralose. You don't need all of this garbage that they put in processed foods. You don't need sodium nitrite. Get natural bacon if you want it. When they cure meat, they use sodium nitrite, and that it's been proven that it causes cancer. The news about the bacon came out. I knew this a long time ago because I researched this kind of stuff. And obviously, if you're putting chemicals in your body that aren't supposed to be there, it's poisoning yourself. Even stuff that's not considered like an additive, like sugar. Well, I guess it's an additive. But anyway, like things that are considered safer, like sugar. If you have too much concentrated sugar, you know the effects are bad. You're going to spike your blood sugar, which is not good. You could, well, I mean, just aesthetically, I mean, you gain weight, clearly, because your body's just going to take that and use that energy later by converting it into fat for you, so you can use it later. Lots of people don't use it later, so it just gets stuck on their bellies or their thighs or anywhere. Yeah, so basically, the concentrated sugar is just not good for you. You should stay away from it. It definitely causes acne. I've seen it. I mean, there's probably studies been done on that, but I mean, I know whenever I have a sugary, like a high sugar ratio to my other intakes of calories, I break out. I mean, for the first couple videos that I've been doing, like I had this pimple right here, and it's finally gone, thank goodness. But yeah, so sugar is not good either. But basically, there are 4 rules that I created. Well, I didn't create them. The 4 logical steps that you should take in order to keep off weight and lose weight. And it's basically keeping your body as natural as possible. I mean, you need to go out and breathe the fresh air, but there's obviously pollution out there. You need to get your sunlight. You need to get proper sleep. You need to work out basically every day. When we were evolving, if you didn't do work, you didn't chase an animal, you didn't go harvest vegetables that you've planted, you didn't get to eat that day. You wouldn't progress. Right now, we generally live a sedentary lifestyle, and I believe that you need to be getting up and moving every day. People try to tell me, it's like, oh, dude, you work out every day? Like, you need to give your body rest. It needs to heal. No. I sleep. I try to sleep 8 hours a night so it can heal then. I try to eat healthy foods so I can heal faster. And I do, and I've seen it. So basically, I just wanted to give you this general idea to get you hyped for the videos I'm going to be coming out for the next couple days. I think I'm going to talk about each of the 4 rules individually that I've basically determined are the best method, at least for my body. Everyone's different. I talked about genetics and survival of the fittest and evolution last episode, and everyone is different, so not every plan will work for every person, but these guidelines are definitely something that you should consider because they worked wonders for me, and I'm sure it'll work for you. It's just basic guidelines that you can follow starting today. But yeah, that's tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.